Welcome to Panther Pourri, the podcast where we're supposed to talk Panthers hockey, but sometimes we don't. Presented by Florida Hockey Now. Here are your hosts, Jacob Langsam, Alex Lopez, and TJ Peterson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Panther Pourri, a Florida Hockey Now podcast. I am your host, Jacob Langsam. Here with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Alex Lopez and TJ Peterson. And folks, the Florida Panthers have taken both of the first two games of round one out of Amalie Arena and will return home to Sunrise for Aaron Ekblad's return to the lineup with a 2-0 lead in round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Great fucking performance by Sergei Bobrovsky, obviously. Anytime you get a shutout in the playoffs, flowers to the goalie. Of course, the major concern coming out of this game is the health of one Aleksander Barkov, who left the game during the third period after a brutal hit to the head by Brandon Hagel.
Let's start there and let's stay there for a long time. Who's ordering the code red, and when does it get executed? Is it game 3, or do they wait for, Stanley Cup banner raising night game 1, where you make Tampa come and watch us raise banner number 2 and then beat the absolute shit out of Brendan Hagel? Do you wait, or do you do it in game 3?
I think you probably do it in game 3. I mean, you could see at the end of that game, Matthew Tkachuk had some
he
words
was pointing,
to say
he was
to Brandon
ready.
Hagel across the bench. And Hagel, by the way, shaking his head the whole time. He wants no piece of that action, but he doesn't have a say in the matter. He's going to get a piece of that action.
Why was Hagel allowed to stay in the game?
I don't know. I found myself also wondering that.
You are allowed to call a major without a game misconduct. I can count on maybe like 2 fingers the amount of times I've ever seen that happen.
I'm not sure I have ever seen that happen before tonight.
And that was not a situation where honestly, Hagel should be done for the series if Barkov can't play in game 3. Considering the NHL takes injury into account, and you're looking at a possible C word for Barkov, Hagel should not play the rest of the series. That was Barkov was the forechecker on that play. He never had possession of the puck. He never came close to possessing the puck. Hagel targeted him. He left his feet and forcibly made contact with Barkov. That's a 5-minute interference and a suspension every single time. The only reason he might not get a suspension, assuming Barkov is not injured, 1, Barkov needs to not be injured, and 2, it's the playoffs, not the regular season. Right. We all know the standard is higher, but that's a 5+ game suspension type hit, considering how predatory it was, and Barkov never had the puck.
I don't know if I agree that it's 5+ for a first-time offender. I don't think Hagel's ever been suspended before. Regular season, if Barkov is injured, that probably gets him 2 or 3 games. I don't know. I'd go as high as 5.
I'm the villain of this podcast and I'm just going to throw my hands up and say I'm probably wrong.
You are.
And I need to look into it more because everybody else disagrees with me. So just understand that. I understand that I'm probably wrong. There's not a whole lot of difference to me between that hit and the Matthew Tkachuk hit we all decided was not a penalty in game 1. I saw a lot of the things that you identified as problematic about this hit in that hit. Puck was gone, wasn't even close, high hit, late hit. I think he left his feet, if I'm remembering it wrong. I fully admit
did not
to that.
leave his feet.
I thought he had left his feet.
And also the hit to the head.
Well, no,
I don't think there was head contact.
I don't think there was.
There was no head contact in either hit.
I needed to watch it a second time to see the head contact with Hagel. The first time I did not think he made head contact.
The one thing you are forgetting is that Kucherov was a puck carrier in that situation.
He had touched the puck.
He had touched the puck and played the puck and knew he was about to get hit. Barkov had no idea. Why? Because he never had the puck. That is a massive difference. If that hit is not a suspension, that next game you send, Jesper Boquist and tell him to just find Kucherov at a random time and lay him out. Because it's a 5-minute major and you kill it off and you can potentially knock a star out of the game. That's the precedent you set by not suspending for this hit. You cannot just hit the guy who doesn't have the puck and never had the puck. And it wasn't like he was close to playing the puck. The puck got rang around the boards and Barkov was chasing after it.
How is that not close to playing the puck?
No, because he never got like a chance to go after the puck. He was like Barkov was forechecking. The puck got rang around the boards. Barkov turned to chase the puck and then gets laid out. Like the puck didn't pass by his stick. Like, you know, let's talk about the Gadjevich hit on I can't remember, was it against Buffalo, some scrub on Buffalo. And
there was nothing wrong with that.
Right, but like
yeah.
Buffalo fans were screaming and crying that it should have been interference because he never touched the puck. The puck was at his stick. Like maybe Gadjevich got there a split second too early. In this situation, Barkov was nowhere near the puck. The puck was a good foot away from him the entire time and going at a speed that he had no shot of playing. That was, hey, I have a clean shot at the captain and the best player on our opponent. I'm going to take it no matter what. And he needs to be suspended for it. And at bare minimum, at some point, he needs to be taken out of a game, whether it's in this series or the next one, because this is what, what hockey is. It's eye for an eye at sometimes. And this is one of those situations where someone's got to take one for the team and take Hagel out of a game. Though, honestly, it shouldn't be Hagel. It should be Kucherov. This is the whole thing that made Pedro Martinez famous when Kevin Millar got beamed, and he goes to Millar and goes, "Who do you want?" And Millar goes, "Jeter." All right, so Jeter got hit in the head. Like, do I advocate for hitting Brandon Hagel in the head and potentially causing, long-term damage? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. But he needs a retribution type hit to answer for what he just did. And it's not, oh, let's drop the gloves and fight. Like, no, you get taken out, blindsided, exactly what you did to Barkov.
I don't know about that. The code is he's got to drop the gloves with someone. It's not you throw a cheap shot at him. The code is he answers for what he does. He rings the bell, drops the gloves.
Well, if the Panthers were a tougher team, we would trust them to handle the situation, Alex. They just need more. They just need more grit. I think that's the answer.
I completely...
Can we trade for Matt Rempe right now?
No. You need Erica Branson back on the third pairing right now.
Yeah, here's my idea. If Sasha Barkov cannot play in Game 3, you put Jonah Gadjevich in the lineup.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say anything else. I will simply imply it.
You put Jonah Gadjevich in the lineup, knowing at some point
probably actually put AJ Greer in the lineup, but
either one of them, knowing that at some point for the rest of the game you're going 11-6.
Yeah, I got to see it a few more times and just like fully get over my initial impression of like, oh yeah, that's charging, interference, whatever you want to call it. A worse version of the Tkachuk hit in Game 1. The head contact,
there was
just didn't see it the first time.
Neither play had head contact. If you're going like trying to make an apples to apples comparison.
Oh, okay. So the head contact was like him going into the ice violently.
Yeah, it was head snap into the ice. Yes.
Yeah, it was definitely a charge, interference, roughing can be called to just imply both, but Tkachuk's hit was like a borderline version. Not version. It was borderline both charging and interference. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. But it was also against a player who was ready for contact because he had just played.
I mean, charging is still a penalty if you want to put it that way.
Hagel could have gotten called for charging. Tkachuk probably wouldn't have gotten called for charging, but it was borderline charging.
Yeah. Well, the difference between that one is one was barely a minor penalty. The other was an obvious major. For all
I don't know if it was an obvious major.
Again,
and my only opinion on that is frankly because I don't know the interference text well enough to determine what's an interference major versus an interference minor.
It's honestly,
but that sure was a super aggressive penalty.
It's when you hit someone too hard that you're not allowed to hit. Like,
okay, yeah, that was a very hard hit.
That's the whole point of why you can call a 5-minute interference, because like there's a difference between just running into a guy and it's like, oh, we collided, I take you out, and doing what Brandon Hagel did, which is I'm taking an absolute run at a player who doesn't have the puck, and LOL Ottawa, you're going to get swept.
Okay, let's...
Good conclusion.
I just want to take a second because like that series has now gone to overtime twice in a row, but the Leafs have scored within 2 minutes of OT starting in both situations. Ottawa is now one game away from getting swept, but there have been two overtime games.
Well, they're not really getting swept.
So, okay, that's what I was kind of gonna get to. Like, can you feel good about this if you're Ottawa because you have forced overtime? Or are you just like, fuck, we're down 3-0?
I mean,
Well,
once they get swept, they're like, we made the playoffs. We improved by like 15 points over last
it's a
season.
great experience for next year. It's going to be all those platitudes. It's going to be the same thing for Montreal when the reality is neither team is really playoff quality. And like it's kind of funny that these games are as close as they are because they're both playing teams that are pretty fraudulent.
I don't know if Toronto's fraudulent. I don't think they're a cup contender, but they're still a very good hockey team,
What I'm saying is they're not the best team in the Atlantic, and nobody thinks they are. The two
which
best
is
teams,
hilarious when you consider that they won the division.
right? But the two best teams in the Atlantic are in Florida in a series that's, quite close and quite good. It doesn't matter who comes out of this
Quite
series.
close.
I
Like,
Nate
also
Schmidt,
would, I
Nate
would,
Schmidt on his own has outscored the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I
What
would
do you
also
mean
contend
quite
with quite
close?
good
I'm trying to
for
be
anybody
nice.
other than us, really.
That's a
Okay,
fair point.
I'm trying to be nice.
By
It's
the
been
way,
intense. There's no doubt about it. And
our buddy Armando Velez with Locked On Panthers just tweeted, Maurice just said no when asked about an update on Barkov and didn't elaborate.
Yeah, that's not surprising at all. He doesn't need
Yeah.
to give it up. If
Right.
he's not
Frankly,
required
that's
to,
like standard fare. Like I wouldn't read into that assuming that Paul Maurice knows that it's bad and doesn't want to say something. I would read into that he just doesn't have anything significant to report right now.
he's not required to report anything. It's the playoffs. You're not going to. Even if
Right.
Barkov is 100% okay, you don't say anything because you don't have to.
yeah, 100%.
One thing to touch on, and we should move off all the Barkov and stuff, is this is where the negative of starting so late hits you. Game 3 is Saturday at 1 o'clock. There is no time for Barkov to recover if, he does have a C word. I mean, if it's a mild one, you could clear protocol it 48 to 72 hours. There's no 2-day break. So Barkov either needs to not have a concussion,
Yeah.
or whatever the injury is needs to be mild enough that he can rest enough to play through it in 36 hours, because we really are 36 hours from puck drop.
Yeah, it's nice to go 2-0 up and say, hey, the worst thing that can happen is that because we don't have Barkov, we're only up 2-1 in game 4.
Yeah. Again, we don't know. Barkov could be fine. Look, he took that hit from Draisaitl and played 2 days later. All right. Yeah, I think maybe it was 3 days later, whatever. He took the hit from Draisaitl and played in game 3. We don't know. Until we know, then I doubt there's going to be a skate tomorrow. So we probably won't know anything. We won't know anything until Monday morning or Saturday. There's not going to be a pregame skate Saturday morning either because it's a 1 o'clock puck drop.
1 o'clock game.
Yeah, we're not going to
know probably warm-ups, yeah.
Yeah, we
Right.
won't know until warm-ups. Yeah, we'll see.
Speaking of injuries, Matthew Tkachuk starting to really not look 100%.
Yeah. Anyone who's ever dealt with a groin injury knows those things don't heal. Like they take months of rest or surgery. Like this was never going to be you got a close to 100% Matthew Tkachuk, which is why all the comments about, cap circumvention and this is the same as Tampa did were stupid, because it's not.
Yeah, he played a total of 13:31, which is the 5th least for any forward. The only players that played less are Mackie Samoskevich and the other members of the 4th line, because Mackie was demoted to the 4th line.
Yeah.
There was a play, if you want to segue into this, we could talk about it. There was a play that I think got Mackie demoted where, and we can segue into this being a talking point. The Lightning are on the attack. Braden Point is just flying right by a gliding Mackey who is doing nothing to even attempt to prevent it. And I think that's why Mackey got then sent to the 4th line. And If there was one takeaway I had from the Lightning's performance in this game, it's that Braden Point missed every chance he got, some of which
He's
were
kind of been.
glorious.
I say he, but like the Lightning have been. They haven't gotten any lucky bounces their way.
But also
Tough.
they're missing their chances. Like that's up to them.
Yeah.
Tough when they swept the
Well,
Panthers
yeah.
4-0 in the President's Trophy.
Look, I'm not
here.
complaining.
Right, like how many bounces did they get? How many bounces did the Panthers not get in that series? So like tough luck that in this one with two evenly matched teams, you didn't get a single bounce on your two home games to start the series. Like,
Yeah.
I got the world's smallest violin about how unfair it is to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh, I mean, it's not I'm not talking about how unfair it is.
No, I
Not
know.
to say that like you're arguing against what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't talk about the Tampa Bay just is not being clinical. They're not making the right decisions on the final pass or whatever. It's like they have so much puck possession. They're getting in behind too. That was not the only time that they had an unencumbered look at Bobrovsky and just didn't do anything with it.
You're not wrong. It's going back to what we all said going into this series. The Lightning are not as good at 5-on-5 as the Florida Panthers. They're just not. And they don't have nearly the offensive depth that we're used to them having. I mean, freaking Goncalves, who the hell is on their first line?
Gonzalez or whatever, I think.
Yeah.
Gage Consalves, yeah.
Yeah, Gage Consalves or whatever. Like, who the hell is
This guy's name is
Gonsalves.
Gage.
Yeah. But
Not
like,
even spelled right. I think his first name is spelled Gage.
right.
At least have the pride to put an I in there.
Right. But this reminds me when like the Panthers had Colton Sevier playing on the first line, where it's like, hey, we're trying to find something that works. Let's put Colton Sevier up there. And
Hey, don't hate on noted hat trick scorer Colton Sevier.
That wasn't even the game that he scored the hat trick in.
I know.
I'm just
Pretty
saying,
funny.
I'm just saying that like, Tampa's really missing Oliver Bjorkstrand. Like that was a huge
Yeah.
trade for them, and like that was the guy. Like that gave them the flexibility to, if things aren't going right, to move things around and still have potent lines in terms of talent. And now they don't have him, and they got Gage Gonzalez or whatever, however you say it, on their first line, trying to find, some chemistry.
And I mean, they do have Anthony Cirelli in the sense that he played, but I'm reading into the fact that he played exactly as much as Nick Paul did, which is 1509, as a sign that perhaps he's not playing at 100%. So that's another guy that they're not getting the full benefits of.
It sucks that they're dealing with injury issues, but so are the Panthers.
Yeah.
Braden Point, 3 individual high danger chances, by the way. Actually, it was 5 because I was only looking at 5-on-5. He had 5 high danger chances. I'm going to have to look and see if the Panthers had 5 high danger chances in the game. They did not. They had 3. But hey, that's what happens when you play on home ice. Sometimes you just have the puck more.
This was also a really weird game in terms of possession. The Lightning very handily won the Corsi battle, the shot attempt share. But if you look at unblocked shot attempts, it's a much closer fight. The Panthers actually had more of the unblocked shot attempts in the first and third periods at 5-on-5 than the Lightning did. Total chances or total shot attempts are, Lightning across the board, but first and third, the Panthers had more unblocked shot attempts. So like good on the Panthers for getting the body out in front of the puck. Yeah, really like very, very interesting possession game. And then you look at Money Puck and the Panthers appear to have won the all situations XG battle. Very, very interesting game.
Is that because of the empty netter attempts though? Like I
like a little bit, but the Panthers' biggest spike in the third period that took their XG over Tampa was at roughly the 52-minute mark of the game. It was a Samoskevich snapshot, maybe, but
yeah, something on the power play.
Maybe it was the one that hit the outside of the post or something. So I guess it was during the 5-minute major. That makes sense. And that does actually outline a similar game profile as game 1, with the Lightning having a larger share of the shot attempts, but the Panthers having a higher XG and winning the game. So I guess the Panthers are generating quality over quantity.
Yeah, I mean when the Panthers have had the high danger chances in this game to be totally fair, they haven't gotten shot attempts. There was the 2-on-1 with Lundell and Luosterainen in the first period. There was the 2-on-1 with I think it was Lundell and Marchand. Marchand was the puck carrier. Hedman just 100% committed to the pass, and Marchand still tried to pass it. I don't know if he saw that Hedman was doing that. Maybe it was just timed perfectly by Hedman, whatever. So they weren't able to get shot attempts off on their best chances. Also, that Seth Jones, Evan Rodriguez combination, I don't think that resulted in the shot attempt. I'm pretty sure Seth Jones missed the puck. And they missed the puck a few times, the Lightning, but like that, the Panthers missed the puck on their high danger chances more. Anyway, what were you saying?
Yeah, there's definitely been the fair share of Panthers not capitalizing on opportunities, just like Tampa. Like every opportunity went in game one. They probably should have had more than one goal against a goalie tonight, but you take it, you're up 2-0, and your number 2 defenseman is coming back, which is quite nice. At least we know he's healthy. Yeah. If that dude pulled a muscle training for the last month, I swear to God.
If you're Paul Maurice, do you just give Barkov Saturday off?
No.
I agree. But if there's even a slight chance, I don't think game 3 is a game where up 2-0 in the series and coming home. I don't think that this is a game where you quote unquote, not to say that anyone falsifies the results of a concussion test, but
sure.
I don't think it's one that you fudge something so he's good to go. If there's any inkling that he shouldn't play, don't play him.
I was about to say, I don't know if this is one of the injuries that you can quote unquote play through. It may not, in the sense that it may not be up to them. They may not be able to play him at all. Even if he's skating.
Do not. Yeah, no concussion. If you have a concussion, you cannot play. Period. However, there are some loopholes with reporting said concussion.
Guys, has nobody watched Varsity Blues? All you got to do is ask him a yes or a no question. Is the man holding some fingers up? And if the answer is yes, he doesn't have a concussion. He doesn't need to answer how many fingers. He just needs it's a yes or a no question.
Do you guys have a problem with the fact that they tried to win 1-0?
No.
They pretty much tried to win 1-0.
No, you win the game however you can, especially when you lose your captain and it's just all right, we got a 5-minute power play. Let's just kill 5 minutes of clock with this 5-minute power play. It's not like they didn't try to score, but they clearly weren't taking chances to give up an odd man rush and a shorthanded opportunity, which I think is the right move.
All right. So prevent defense doesn't prevent you from winning. Noted. I'll take notes of that.
Yeah.
It depends on
I will never
I'm
not
just
be
being
of the
a
opinion. I will never not be of the opinion that the best way to protect the lead is to extend it.
I agree. I'm just saying the Panthers are so good defensively, they give up the least amount of goals of anybody. So if you want to sit on a lead, fine. You're 2-0 doing it.
They've done it in the playoffs so many times. I mean, that's how they won the Carolina series.
It's how they won Game 7.
Yeah. Good point.
They won Stanley Cup by pinning the puck against the boards. I know you all know the line.
3 seconds to go.
Say the line, Bart.
Just like they've done so many times, up against the boards.
Yeah, there were a couple of moments of up against the boards tonight that gave me just the most fun flashbacks.
Yep. Seth Jones knew the assignment.
Seth Jones, by the way,
playing well.
I haven't looked yet, but I thought he was good tonight.
Yeah. I think that the description of him was not very accurate because he's not a good skater, but he is huge and really uses his body well.
All situations, he only had a 41.5, but
this probably wasn't his best game.
Well, relative to team, he was plus 3.1. So positive Fenwick 4 percentage, positive shots 4 percentage.
I mean, this is a game that they survived. Ultimately, it's not like I'm saying they stole the game, but they decided that nobody was going to look great. Nobody was going to have a highlight reel assist or deke somebody and then steal Vasi's jock, This was
Look,
a game that they were going to team concept their way to 2-0 series lead.
this series, the way it has gone so far, I know they won game one 6-2, but this series is like a cumulative maybe 12 inches away from being 2-0 Tampa.
War of attrition.
Maybe 1-1. Maybe the 6-2. Maybe the Vasi beat down in game one is. Maybe I should give the Panthers a little bit more credit on that. But like this series really could be 2-0 Tampa as easily as it is 2-0 Florida.
I mean, I don't know about quite 2-0, but yeah, it's definitely been that's why I called it a close series. Like even with a 6-2 win. Like,
I know, and I was just thinking about that as I said that I made fun of you for calling it a close series, but
it has been a close series. These are two very evenly matched teams. Like it's basically going to come down to health and who gets the the better bounces in terms of puck luck. Like there's nothing wrong with that. These are two of the 5 best teams in the NHL and probably the 2 best teams in the East.
it's like we said in the preview. This is a Stanley Cup final that could never be.
Right. This matchup should have happened in the conference.
I'm more scared of Tampa than I am pretty much anyone in the West, except for maybe like Colorado.
I mean, Braden Point is going to keep playing like this.
Yeah, I guess. And I guess maybe Winnipeg if Connor Hellebuck continues Connor Hellebucking. But
the point
I'm
is
scared of Ottawa. They've got Toronto right, but they won them.
is it bad to say that I actually like genuinely agree with you? Because the Ottawa reverse sweep though. Oh, please.
Every outcome is good now, except for Toronto in 7, pretty much.
Ottawa had no business being in the playoffs. They're just not that good. I thought they'd at least push Toronto, considering Toronto in the first round is so problematic.
You could argue that they have. 2 of the games have gone to overtime.
2 straight OT games.
I think Ottawa has pushed Toronto as hard as they can.
You're right.
That's just kind of like a series score, slightly lying. I said that game 1 wasn't 6-2, but I didn't mean that Toronto could have lost that game. I don't think that. The other 2 games, like it's just a fact that if a puck bounced differently in overtime, Ottawa would have won the game.
That's a series that genuinely could be 2-1 Ottawa as easily as it is 3-0 Toronto.
Yeah. Or at least plausibly could be 2-1 Ottawa.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get bogged down by semantics right now. That's the thing. Like we don't know what it's going to look like if Tampa gets a bounce and they go up 1-0 in a game, because it hasn't happened. That Tampa has not led any of the 2 games, either of them, for a moment. They've only been tied after the first goal was scored for about 5 minutes of the series. When Gensel scored, Reinhart answered like 5 minutes later. I don't know how long it was exactly. That's the only amount of time that they have spent not trailing past like the first TV timeout.
Okay, to your point, please, from Greg Wyshynski, please note that NHL teams that take a 2-0 series lead in a best-of-7 series have gone on to win that series 86% of the time in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Bucci OT's quote tweet, Bartolo Colon was a .084 lifetime hitter, 8% success, much worse than 14%. You never know. Don't give up. Oilers, Blues, Habs, Devils, Sens, and now Tampa. And it's the gif of Bartolo Colon hitting a home run.
I would love to know what that percentage is when the team that played the first 2 games at home is down 2-0.
I would think it's not that different, just considering how little home ice matters in the NHL compared to a sport like the NBA.
Home ice, but also that's the team that's the higher seed.
Right.
So I wonder if the higher seed comes back a little bit more. I don't care enough to look it up, though.
Yeah, neither do I. PK has been fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to go much into there. I still really like Nico, the addition of Nico Sturm.
Yeah, he's playing good.
Do
we think that Mackey's just going to be back online too next game?
I think it all matters on if Barkov's healthy, because if Barkov is out, I think you go to line 1 as Reinhart, Luosterainen, Lundell.
Yeah.
And then, second line is the current second line, third line, whether it's Sturm or Boquist in the middle with Marchand and Samoskevich. I think those are the lines.
Does Boquist play center?
He absolutely plays center.
Well, Sturm can be the third line center.
Yeah, but I'd rather it be Boquist if he plays center.
I could have sworn I've seen Boquist take
Well,
base.
Sturm is a better center. There's no doubt about it.
Unless
Yeah, but-
Boquist can play center.
Yeah, I
I would
like
rather
Boquist
Boquist
offensively.
But
against
the
third line
responsibilities
competition.
of a center are better handled by Nico Sturm.
I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that relative to the Panthers, because like that's a team that is just pretty defensively responsible all the way up and down the lineup. There aren't really a ton of holdouts that you think, oh, this guy doesn't play defense. He's all offense. He cherry picks. Like the Panthers don't really have any of those guys. Everyone is defensively responsible enough.
They've been missing that one guy for a lot of the season that you were describing just now. It's Matthew Tkachuk. He's the cherry picker.
I don't agree.
I mean, if you're that effective at doing it, why change anything? He is a different kind of player than basically any player in the NHL. It's all in the head. His head is just moving so much faster than anybody else's. He sees the game like he's playing in slow motion. It is really a sight to behold. And Brady is a very similar kind of player. And he had a goal tonight and generally looks all right, despite his team being down 3-0. It's pretty wild, but I digress. We'll
You
see
sure
about
do.
Barkov for game 3. I think that the X factor is, do the Lightning have another gear to get to? Can they actually start making some offensive plays that aren't just consolation goals when they're down 4-1 or Bobrovsky giving up a weak rebound? They have the offensive talent to do it, obviously.
Yeah, of course they do.
Jake,
This is more or less the same core that they won at least one, if not both of their recent back-to-back cups with. You know, obviously you swap out Stamkos for Gensel, but other than that, your core is the same. Not to diminish Stamkos's place in that core. He was.
They even have Yanni Gord back.
Right.
They just don't have the insane depth they used to have. Like,
Right.
They don't have Barclay Goodrow. They don't have.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that Carter Verhaeghe, being the only player who has won a cup with each of those two teams, was essentially released by the Lightning into UFA because they just didn't have a spot for him.
Yeah.
The Lightning, when they were winning cups, were so deep that they could just cut Carter Verhaeghe loose.
Yeah, they couldn't afford him. They couldn't even pay him $1 million.
Right.
They couldn't pay him the $1 million that the Panthers paid him.
Now I'm sure that the Lightning would love to pay Carter Verhaeghe.
Probably his current, whatever. That whole conversation is strange. Like, I don't know what's going on with Verhaeghe. Bad penalty, clear boarding. He shouldn't have been doing that. Like,
Yeah,
I just don't know what to say. Like, the track record is long enough at this point that I trust him to get it back. But like,
he was great in game
still
one.
not seeing it. Still not seeing it.
He was great in game one.
Maybe that shot goes in once, and we're just like, oh, he's back.
Yeah, I'm watching Barkov get hit again and again. He was nowhere near the puck. Like,
Yeah.
he never had
No,
an opportunity.
Alex,
to
I
play
don't
the
think
puck.
there's ever been a question about how close Barkov was to the cup, at least not here.
Yeah.
TJ's competing question is, where was the puck when Tkachuk hit Kucherov in game 1?
Right, but Kucherov had just played it up the ice. There's a
He
difference.
certainly just played it. I didn't know how close the puck was. That's not me being wrong. That's me just being ignorant. I don't know.
Yeah, like McDonough rings it around the boards. Barkov turns to chase it and just gets leveled.
Surprisingly, even though he's on the ice, McDonough is not the one making the dirty hit.
As of the end of tonight's East Coast games, at least, or Eastern Conference games, at least, the Panthers are currently money pucks favorites to win the cup.
I would imagine that will be the case when the Western games are over because St. Louis is currently up 3-0.
That's true, and the Minnesota Vegas game is close.
I was talking about it actually as soon as we ended the game 1 recap pod, but my God, was Aiden Hill terrible in game 2.
He's overrated.
Alex, you may turn out to be like very correct about that.
Goalies are voodoo, and he's like that's.
He
I'll
was
just leave it.
so bad.
He was.
Oh,
so,
actually, you know what? Let's talk about Edmonton, LA, because I feel like a lot of Panthers fans still kind of have some ill will from the intensity of the Stanley Cup Finals, and Edmonton's just getting exposed, embarrassed,
Yep.
and their pants pulled down.
They're getting completely rocked.
Yeah.
They were touted as having the best offseason of any team in the NHL, and it's clear they did not.
By who?
There were a lot of people
Not
loving
to
their
say that I
moves.
disagree with you, but like they didn't fucking do anything
They
except
lost.
lose. They lost Philip Broberg.
And
Okay.
they lost Dylan Holloway, who's
And
been
they lost
very
Dylan
good for St.
Holloway.
Louis,
Hold on.
And Ryan McLeod.
Hold on.
who was good for Buffalo.
Some dude who just got drafted, his sister came up and gave him a hug wearing a District 5 Adam Banks jersey. That is fantastic.
Awesome.
So if you want
Awesome.
to timestamp exactly when we recorded this episode, denote that Alex just made a reference to the currently ongoing NFL draft.
Also, the 3-0 score in the Blues Jets game, and hey, maybe they win the game 3-0, but like whatever.
Like, I love Jeff Skinner as much as the next guy, but adding Jeff Skinner does not make up for all the pieces that Edmonton lost. And by the way, despite them pushing the Panthers to 7, they almost lost to Vancouver in round 1 or round 2.
No, it was round 2.
Vancouver was playing a third string goalie, and they still almost beat Edmonton in round 2 last year. And Edmonton is worse this year than they were last year.
As much as I like Jake Wallman, it's probably good to go into an NHL playoff series with a defenseman that is good at defense. Like,
Yeah, that would help.
that's probably
like
something
Gus
you
Forsling,
want.
for example.
Raiders 5 stars at Cleveland Clinic, where hopefully Barkov is not getting treatment.
And we'll see you all back at Amarant Bank Arena for Game 3 of round 1 for Aaron Ekblad's return. Good night, everybody. Go Panthers.